edit that out. So what would I can't. We'd have to come. I got to come up. I mean, I know you'll edit this, but how do we got to come up with a name?
See, now right now the show that I got, I mean the setup that I have right now is Black Boys Abroad, right? Because what I was going to do was I was going to start the whole the business that the little business that I want to do where I'm taking kids or taking guys overseas and seeing what it's like outside of America, so that they don't have the situation of American racism and American politics on their back all the time. They get to be able to see what it's like outside of America and have that embedded in their head to understand that, oh wait, there is something else other than where we are. So that's what Black Boys Abroad is about. Since I can't do my prison reform thing that you were talking about, I mean that I talked to you about a long time ago.
Yeah.
So that's what that is.
You want
So
to identify
I'm
yourself as
KingZuko.
a nickname or
like as the nickname, either by KingZuko or Black Boys Abroad. Because like when you're on the cyberspace in a way, the name that you use on your marker, like whatever one that you set up, that's what they'll call you. So like if you got like BGS Ibmore, that's the guy that we one of the guys that we get praised to. Master teacher.
Yeah.
I
can just use CJ.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nickname, so I can just use that.
All right. So CJ and KZ. So boom, there we go. KingZuko, CJ. So what it really boils down to is this though, right? Now, when we were having this conversation we were having earlier, the situation that we were talking about was how over here in I'm in LA. I can't even I was going to try to find a way to go around it, but like I'm in LA and like the situation out here is very different than it is on the East Coast is what you were saying.
Well,
So
I am in New York.
mhm. So
Correct.
with you being in New York, one of the things that I noticed about me being out here in LA is once I got here, I started understanding something. And the main thing I started understanding was this place, being LA, is a sounding board, is some type of advertisement for the rest of the country. Now, the stuff that people are going through, the stuff that women are going through, when they were saying it was hard to find dates, it was hard to date in America, in LA, or it's hard to, the dating world is extremely hard and all that type of stuff, right? When I heard that, I was in different states, every single situation that, since I've been back in America. So I had more, my eyes were open more. I was able to see certain things. And one of the things that I was realizing was once I actually stepped foot in LA and the bedrock of this advertisement of America, I realized that the women on the East Coast who were saying that they were having a hard time dating were not going through the same situation that the women on the West Coast were when it came to the situations of dating. The men out here are different than the men on the East Coast. The men on the East Coast and the West Coast are different than the men in the South. They come with certain type of cultural differences that are very distinct to that area, right? So one of the things that I was saying was they're projecting the situation of being black women and dating onto the rest of the country. And these women are taking on these aspects as if they're going through it, and they really aren't.
They're adapting those philosophies that are coming from the West Coast when you're dealing geographically in the East Coast and Northeast and Southeast. You're dealing with different type of individuals, different mindsets, different morals, values, ethics, things of that nature. But they're adapting these nuances, I would say, from the West Coast and bring it into their life and using these, trying to use these things to their advantage, which is actually a disadvantage because geographically you're in different places. Over there in the West Coast, to my understanding, way more superficial. Everything is very shallow.
Here's the thing. Now, when you're talking about this, you're specifically really talking about LA. Now, when you talk, when we push it up, because like I'm saying West Coast, but like now I'm gonna bring it even closer. I'm gonna bring it to LA County, because when these people sit here and say some of the stuff that they say out here, LA is small as hell. Like, I live right in the heart. I live in 90012. Like, I live right in the heart of daggone LA. And yeah, this thing is small as hell. When you look at the rest of, I was living in Palmdale. That was horrible. That was the most horrible situation I lived in my life. But when you look at the rest of the world, of LA, of California, you have different aspects and mindsets. So San Francisco is different from LA, which is different from Middle Earth California. And then you have San Diego, which is like heavily military dominated. Like, it almost feels like Detroit in a way, with the whole like steel mill type feel to it. But other than that, it's like most of this mindset, most of this stuff that they're talking about, I swear to you, it comes from a very small, minute area in LA that comes from a very small culture in LA that has been blasting this type of mindset to the rest of the daggone world. And on top of it,
Well, what you can say is that, so what does that tell you? What does that go back in the days, and what do we call that? That's a block mentality. Okay, so, back in the days, and, you have guys in different hoods, they have block mentalities where, generally speaking, and I've learned this throughout my travels throughout, the U.S., United States of America, and different states, that most people, they don't leave their surrounding areas. So 3 or 4 miles radius, they stay within that radius. For example, when I first moved to New York, guys in the Bronx, they never go to Queens, never go to Brooklyn, never go to Manhattan.
Yeah, I remember that.
So they stay in their 4 or 5 block radius, and that's it. And they date inside that radius. So LA just happens to be the center point of where a lot of trends and a lot of things are made up, and the mindset is cultivated, and people grab that and hold and use that, go by these what's being created there. For some reason, I don't understand it, why LA is supposed to be the end all be all, but that's what's steering people the wrong way, because you can't use the same mentality on the West Coast over here on the East Coast, and you can use the same mentality in the Northeast, in the South.
Sure, you can't use the same mentality in Brooklyn than you do in the Bronx. So to some degree, majority of, but you definitely cannot use West Coast way of thinking and the way you move over here on the East Coast, because the people are just totally different. People in New York move at a different speed, different mindset. They see things differently. So that's where the fail is coming. That's where they're failing at. And women over here, for example, are adapting these things and using it and utilizing it in their daily lives. And guess what? That's why women here, and specifically black women, more importantly, Hispanic women, brown people. Oh, the Hispanic
that's why the
women
here are
eating us up.
They're losing. They're losing the war. They absolutely are.
See,
and I think they're starting to see, I think they're seeing it, but they're seeing it within, but they don't want to say that. They don't want to verbalize it. They don't want it to be said. They don't want to say it. They don't want us to know that we know this.
They don't want to visualize it though.
Yeah, but there's a few men like us, meaning that, are, let's just say we're world travelers. We've lived in different countries, different states, so have a multi-diverse background, and so we see things from a different perspective. when it comes to, living and dealing with other cultures, also educationally speaking also. So Joe Schmo is not thinking about this stuff. He's just really thinking about his block and his 4 or 5 square mile radius where he's dating, the women that he's dating. But for men in our category that are going outside of the norm and don't have a block mentality, we're dealing with different types of women with different classes, different standards. So we see that they are definitely losing the war, and this is an issue because we have issues with men and women. How do we even speak to each other? How do we comprehend each other? How do we communicate? So if we don't at least get to some type of common ground, how we're going to even be able to communicate effectively?
See, that part right there, communication, right? One of the things that I'm noticing that's happening with this, with that one aspect, is the manipulation of communication. So one of the things that I realize is our culture right now is producing a bunch of what is that word again? It's a word where the person is a psycho, but like they don't like narcissists. There we go. So they're producing a bunch of narcissists, and like the women don't understand that they're being narcissistic in the aspects of what they're doing towards their men, their children, so on and so forth. That everything is about them. Nothing is about the greater good anymore. Nothing's about building anything in their point of view. It's about, I want what I want. I want to go on these trips. If you can't do for me, then I don't need you because there's another nigga who will. Excuse me. So what's happened is...
It's funny that you say that. Real quick, sorry to cut you off. It's funny that you said I want to go on these trips. When did this come into play where all of a sudden all these females now, all they want to do is travel? Women will spend their last dime to go on a trip somewhere.
You know what it really is? You want me to tell you what it really is?
I don't understand it. Maybe because I've lived in other countries and I've always traveled, but it just doesn't make sense to me.
Let me tell you what it really is. It's a very, very underhanded and sneaky thing that they're doing. You know what they're really doing? Sex tourism. Without saying it.
Man.
Without saying it, they're doing sex tourism. Let me explain this one. I found this out. One, I didn't understand it because I was part of it. But when I was a part of it, I thought it was just, I'm just taking advantage of the situation at hand. So being in Vegas, that was one aspect of it. When I was living in Vegas, I was pretty much in a situation where whenever women come into the area, boom, they're looking to fuck. Especially when they with just their girls. All these women are out here looking to fuck. And yeah, I probably won't be able to monetize this one. But so now what they're doing is they're going to different countries. They're going to different places and they'll meet men. Let's say American men who are going on these same trips, right? They'll get to their hotel. They'll meet a guy there. And since nobody knows them, nobody knows where they are, who they are, they start smashing every dude they can when they feel like it, right? Now, they say that we do this, but they do it more because it's more accessible to them and they can choose however and whenever and whatever they want to do. With us, it's more of a difficulty. We got to set it up. We got to hope that we're in a situation that they would want to, or you're going to be one of them that are going like simps that's paying for it. I'm not paying for it. I'm sorry. But
absolutely not.
Now, I ain't going to say in a situation of youth that I wasn't a dude that did some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? In a situation of youth, yeah. But today, as a grown ass man, knowing what the deal is and stuff like that, nah, it's not happening. So this is to get out all that, debunk all that. Anybody who would have tried to attack a situation that we're talking about. But the truth is, it's sex tourism. It's just that
There's
women
got to
doing
be
it
something
now.
else besides that. So the reason why I say that is
promise
because
you.
what happens when women go on these girls trips and they like 4 or 5 of their girlfriends go, and okay, maybe they're not, maybe some of them not doing that, but I'm just baffled on what's the emphasis on. Oh, I want to go here, I want to travel, and the fact that you'll break your bank and you'll spend your last dime just to go on a trip.
You know, on top of that part, because the girlfriend did it. Some girl they knew or heard about or saw on TV, most likely saw on TV. Some girl, or the most, the prettiest girl that they know of. Because this is what the situation usually is. And this also lends back to the situation that I'm talking about out here in LA, where a majority of the most beautiful women in America come to LA. Like dimes out here are so, are so prevalent that a dime doesn't know she's a dime. Matter of fact, her being a dime here is lessened, like because the level of game and the level of beauty out here is so high that they have to actually play more in order to get in order to get some type of ranking. Like these chicks are afraid to wake up without their makeup on.
You're in the land, California, just in general, is the land of vanity.
Mm-hmm. So
that's everyone out there is, every corner there's a pretty woman, pretty face.
Mm-hmm. Now you in the club, right? There's a bunch of good-looking women, right? There's a bunch of well, let me rephrase that. Out here, there's a bunch of good-looking women in the club. They all got nice body. They all got nice bodies. Matter of fact, the bouncers won't let them in if they look a certain type of way. Period. Like the bouncers are the guardians and the gatekeepers of what can and can't come in the daggone club. So if she don't look right, if she don't have the right look, she can't dress, she ain't getting in. So now you in this club, right? And let's compare this to New York, or let's compare this to, I want to say North Carolina or Georgia. Well, no, I can't, because it's almost the same with black women out here. And no, I'm not going to compare them yet because I haven't been there in a while. But North Carolina, you go into a club. Right. In that club, you can literally count the amount of dimes in the club. It'll be
absolutely.
It'll be probably, depending on how big the club is. If it's a small club, you'll get 4 to 5 dimes. Like
a big club, I would say 10.
I want to say that too. But like they don't really have massive clubs out there like that unless you go down to Charlotte. Or you go to the schools where you got a mix of all the women from different areas coming into one little spot.
Yeah.
And then on a lot of cases, them girls aren't dimes either. But, there will be a handful or a great deal more of dimes in the like Research Triangle and all that type of stuff like that. But like when you go to to outside of those areas and you go to a regular club, it's not going to be that many dimes. Here,
not at all.
Here, the women are dimes, and truthfully, because of the lens of seeing so many dimes out here, they're now lowered to 6s and 7s and 4s and 5s. But the moment they leave here, they go to like Arizona or Vegas or something like that, they get raised to 9s and 10s.
Right. And
so
they move up the ladder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's the dilemma of LA. So when a woman out in these other cities start comparing themselves to the situation that's happening out here in LA, they're doing themselves a disservice because
absolutely
they're not even on the level of here. Then on top of it, the men, like I ain't even going front. When I got off the bus coming out here, I was like, yo, I gotta lose weight. These dudes out here, like everybody is like, the air is different. Like the guys out here, most of them is like 6 foot. And if they're not from here. Like most of them if they buffed up, they went to jail. Like when they say they got a jail body, that term jail body, like back home on the East Coast, like everybody's skinny, right? Mostly skinny, or like if you ain't skinny, you a little bit like if you get brolic, it's like you went down south and came back up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But overall though, you skinny. Out here they skinny, but they like their skinniness goes with height, right? So if they skinny, that means they 6 foot or more. You know what I'm saying? If they big, their bigness comes from a lot of the times either somebody went to jail or they got a culture out here that's about fitness, and their fitness culture is epic. Like this Herbalife, that you don't even see that on the East Coast that much no more, right?
No, not at all. I see people from like Puerto Rico and DR doing that, but not over here at all on the East Coast. Not anymore.
They don't. Yo, it's like one of the biggest buildings here got the Herbalife placard on it and stuff like that. It's in the culture. It's ingrained out here. Like they got gyms and fitness centers set up around the whole lifestyle of Herbalife. That's and it's black people running it type deal. That's the type of joint that's going on. So you're doing yourself a disservice if you compare yourself or taking on the mindset of people who are from LA and bringing that junk over there to the East Coast. Like we got different values, we got different mindsets, we got different aims. Like matter of fact, the Israelites and the Hebrews the Israelites and the Hotep dudes, they just coming out here. They just getting out here.
Just all right.
So
all right.
Like
they're here, been here forever.
Yeah, they've been there forever. Like since I was like, a child. I can't remember not besides myself being
not seen them. I can't remember.
Yeah, a Hebrew. Besides myself being one, it was like one of those things. Either you kept hush hush, don't talk about it out in the open.
Yep.
But now it's like it's a big thing now. Like and it's funny where all these people are trying to be what is it called? Woke and everything like that. But
see, that's a trend. That's honestly what that is. That's a trend because there's been a shift in the world. So there's much more racial things going on now. So if you're a black person and you're not trying to be conscious, so that's one strike against you, a knock against you, for someone that is actually conscious and understands what's going on in the world. And so you have people trying to talk this talk, and but they're not necessarily walking it. They're just trying to fit in. But this the same thing that happened in the 70s and 80s. So it's just coming back, and everything is in cycles. Everything is in cycles. Shit, same fashion, everything. It doesn't matter what it is. It goes in cycles, comes back around, and we're just witnessing that again. So now it's popular, and it's cool to be a brown person and say and to actually be conscious about know what's going on and know something about the history, where you come from. If you don't, or if you're not saying anything about it, then other black
what's wrong with you, brother?
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you, brother?
Yeah, exactly. Because the majority of people aren't following this stuff. They're just they're riding the wave, and they can sit and talk a little bit about stuff, but majority of people are not actually making moves and not trying to connect and build something together with other black folks. So it's just another trend. For the majority of people, it's a trend. There's a small group of us that it's not an actual trend for, and they actually trying to do this for real.
Yeah, you could tell it's a majority of like regurgitation, because like they'll keep saying the same. They'll keep saying the same thing over and over again. It won't be like any new facts that they'll come at you with, unless it's like something that you heard. Like for me, it'll be something that I heard through the grapevine, or like that I already done researched, or that let's say my network of information gathering like brings to me in a way, right? And what'll happen is all of a sudden, like months later, after like Fox News or some other type of media ports this to the rest of the world, then they start telling you about then they start telling you about it, and it's like, wait, where did you get this from? Where did you get this from? Because if you wasn't really paying attention, now I need to make sure that I tell you about what you're talking about, because like you're kind of late, but at the same time it's cool because I like that you found out this information. But now let me port on to you what is missing from what you're talking about. And the only reason why I probably know some of this stuff is because either I'm in a certain culture or it was because I left the country. And that's pretty much it.
There's an old saying that once everyone else knows, once the street knows it, it's too late.
Wall Street, everything else say that.
That's Wall Street. Yep, that's where I learned it, from Wall Street. Once the street knows it, guess what?
Do the opposite.
Too late to move on it. It's been done already. So, and the majority of people are behind when it comes to information, because most people, I hate to say this, they're just not information seekers.
So now there's this other situation, right? Or let's go back to the situation of like the losing, the people who are winning and people who are losing. So now that these women out here are getting this taste of the Hotep dudes, right? Like, you a queen, and women is God and all that type of stuff like that. And in all, if that's true, right? Because I don't want to stick to any preaching in any way, shape, form, or fashion yet until I get to this point, right? So now they're receiving, these women out here are receiving this because the men who are out here, they're raised off of pimps and hoes and tricks, and ain't no fun if my homie can't have none. And the dudes, they know how to talk their way into living off a woman. Like, remember how you used to hear about how dudes was living off girls and all that type of stuff? Now, on the East Coast, now. Well, here's the thing. On the East Coast, it was usually a fat chick, right?
Absolutely, yes. Not anymore.
It wasn't a dime. It was usually a fat chick. Yep. But out here, it's dimes. Like, it'll be the bummiest dude that he ain't got nothing going on for himself. He don't know how to think. Only thing he can think of is, let me get some money to buy some weed or something like that. And if it ain't that, it's like, me and the boys, we about to go out and stuff like that. Can I borrow something? Let me hold your car real quick so I can go to the store. Like, this is the type of shit and the type of dudes that these girls is dealing with. And then they blaming the good men who got his own car, got his own situation going. They're saying, oh, you act like him, and that can't possibly be. But this is the type of women, these are the type of men that these women are dealing with. Now, you saying that that's the same situation that's happening over on the East Coast?
It is caught up. The East Coast has caught it now. That's exactly what's transpiring over here. Educated women are, whether it's education or women that are stable, put it that way. Educated, stable, working class women that have, stable jobs, whatever the job may be, but stable, are meeting and dating men that are not doing anything with their lives. So, and they're taking care of them.
So now I'm gonna revert back to Master Teacher BGS, right? He predicted this when I first started listening to this guy. He predicted this in 2017. Everything that they're going through right now, the whole loss of certain benefits and all that type of stuff like that, he predicted it before it started happening. When Shorty started hitting you up, and then I called you, I was like, yo, like, are you all of a sudden, like, Shorties from back in the day hitting you all of a sudden? Right? Remember that? When Shorty with the big booty from the Bronx.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean, right? So, like, when old girl hit you, I was getting hit at the same time. and he predicted that situation. I went on his show and told him, like, everything he's saying is coming true. Everything he's still saying that he said back then 2-3 years ago is coming true now. So part of this situation that we're experiencing is they're just following a script in a way, it feels like. And it's a setup that's already put out there, like from the from the 1970s and the 60s, that these people that are above us are setting up. And they set this script up so well that, like, these people are following it without even knowing it, without even having to read. They don't have to do a table read. They already there.
Right.
And they following the script to the T. And all they got to do is just put a few influences out there. And like in women's nature, if somebody else they feel is more successful than them as a woman, which is usually more prettier than them.
Yeah, because they put it in vanity instead of actually things that are, it's something of substance instead.
They'll take on that information and follow it as if it's gospel. And that's what we experiencing. That's what we experiencing. And the fucked up part about it is the manipulation of of us being in this captivity in a way. No, I don't even want to go towards captivity. The manipulation of our culture is what's the problem. I don't want to abandon hip hop culture. What I want is us to take it back.
Absolutely, because it's not, I don't know what it is right now. There is no hip hop culture right now. It's just a bunch of garbage.
Right now, they've been throwing out Mexicans and everybody else in hip hop culture. And sooner or later,
the feminization of, the black man, which is what they're doing.
Yep. Sooner or later, Nas is going to be white. Jay-Z is going to be Mexican. I'm telling you. I'm joking. But no, but what's happening is the feminization of our black youth, that was already in the plans. As a matter of fact, when they started that with the whole Planned Parenthood situation, the eugenics movement,
the destruction of the black family.
The destruction of the black family was taking out the keystone, and the keystone was the black man.
Man, exactly. And how you destroy the black family is you destroy the black man. You take him, you remove him from the family, and you make the woman do everything.
And you not only do you remove him from the family and make her do everything, you make her, which she has to do with what she has, you make her feed her fucking family poison. And that's exactly what she's done. And then she took on that poison and then started feeding herself with it, and then became even worse off. She started feeding them more and more poison, and then she accepted it and turned it into a situation of, well, everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it. So now we're in a situation of recovery. But we don't have the ability to recover. If we don't have the power to be able to control our women and our family, which other cultures do have. I've seen Asian men, which I was married to an Asian at one point. Y'all gonna hate me for it? I don't give a fuck. So I've seen Asian men backslap the shit out of their women, and then boom, everything is back to order. But again, the women were sitting there, they were in control of the family. He wasn't the judge. He was the needed power when needed. If you get what I'm saying.
Right.
Now, we was talking about this another day where, we was watching some like Uzbekistan dude at a marriage, and like his wife was playing with him a little bit too much. And the moment that he was like, he was finito, he just like, smacked her in the mouth real quick. Like, yo, what's wrong with you? Give me the daggone cake. Exactly. Now, I don't advocate beating women. I'm not advocating hitting women. But I do have a problem with not knowing how to discipline a unruly person. You know, like, who does the disciplining in the situation? But at the same time, you give women all out right to discipline their children when they go overboard. Discipline their daughters when they actually, sometimes these women hate their daughters. And then discipline their men by either yelling at them, telling them all types of crazy stuff, like, you know, berating them, all that type of stuff like that. And if they can't win the argument, then they'll use the proxy of masculinity to take that man down so they could keep him in control. And if you don't know what the proxy of masculinity is, for the other people who are out there that might hear this, proxy of masculinity is, I got my big brother, he gonna mess you up. My father gonna shoot you. I'm gonna call the cops. So on and so forth.
Yeah, so you're backed into a corner, so you're forced to say, all right, I can't do this. Is not gonna. I can't do this. Can't go that far. So then, at some point, then you're saying, all right, you're gonna have to take the high road and say, all right, you win.
Just to keep their man in check.
Yep, exactly.
It's a crazy cycle. But back to the situation.
But the problem we're having, but listen to what problem I think that we're having here. Yeah, we need to recover, but before you recover, you got to understand that there's a problem, and they're not getting at there's a problem. Put it this way: they know there's a problem, but guess what? They're not saying there's a problem. So what like when you're an addict, so what's the first step to recovery? Admitting that there's a problem, owning it.
Okay.
So until they own it, then there won't be a recovery.
But that would have to mean they would have to admit some type of responsibility.
They're going to have to in order to recover, because if not, this is going to just keep going and going and going and getting worse and worse. Which is an ugly, it's already ugly, but it's really bad. But again, in order to fix a problem, you got to admit that you have the problem first. So until there's an admission, then guess what? There won't be any fixing. There won't be any recovery.
What problem?
The problem that
ain't no problem. You know that's what they're gonna be like. Yeah. Ain't no problem. What you talking about?
I agree with
no.
That,
See,
but
what the problem really is you men don't input whatever psychobabble bullshit that somebody gonna put in there. You men don't. Yeah, we men don't put you in check. That's what I feel like it is. We don't have a chance to do so. And if we do, like, I feel like every dealing with a woman is almost a situation of maybe the cops might come if, like, things go bad. And it's not because I feel like I'll put my hands on a woman. I know that I can win a lot of arguments. And because I know I can win a lot of arguments, I know that a lot of women don't like when they can be out-talked, especially by a man.
True statement.
But the reason why we have a lot of the men that we have today, like if it wasn't for me joining the military, a lot of my like effeminate qualities that came from growing up around a bunch of women would have been in control of my aspects. If you get what I'm saying. But because I went to the military, because I had a good step pops who taught me how to drive, who, so on and so forth. These little things of the little things of masculinity. If it wasn't for my step pops, I probably hit women. If it wasn't for my step pops, he showed me something that was valuable because of the type of woman that my mother was. My mother was, a handsy woman. She beat up. All my life I remember her beating up men. So by seeing that, by understanding that, like I would have thought that because of what she also said, that I could hit women, right? But seeing that my mom's put my step pops through a wall. That man got up, didn't hit her. She was throwing blows. He was taking a few, and then once he got her under control, he sat her ass down, and then sat right there with her, turned on the football game while she was struggling, and then commenced to watching the football game. Now, me being the little boy that I was like, get your hands off my mama.
Right.
And lo and behold, I got wrapped up somehow, some way, and I was sitting upside down, getting sitting there waiting until he let me go. But the thing was, that was a learning lesson of you don't have to put your hands on a woman. You're stronger than her. And if he was to put his hands on her, he probably would have knocked her out. But at the same time,
Absolutely.
he knew what to do. He knew how to control her. He knew how to, so on and so forth. And ever since then, I always looked at that and I was like, damn, that's the way you gotta be, That. So, in learning from him, that was that one thing. In the military, I had a bunch of, real men in the military that taught me how to be a real man in the real world. Now, the thing about it was, I came in there with female tendencies. I came in there arguing. I came in there fighting. I came in there like, rah, rah. And I thought that was being a man, when really, this is how they created the fucked up shit they got going on right now. These boys ain't really been around too many men. And they've been around nothing but listening to these women cackle and talk about that bullshit that they be talking about. And they learned from them how to be and how to act. And then now we're sitting here worried about where men are going nowadays. No, we can't. We can't. You just got to remake them or force them. Or there's this thing that we call in the military a significant emotional event. And once you give them that, you got to choose. Do you want to keep going through this? Do you want this pain?
Take a different direction.
Or do you want to, you want to elevate? And that's what happens.
Yep.
So now we got these women out here. They created these men. Now, the eugenics program, they pushed another situation out there. They pushed the feminism situation out there, right? Now, we got feminism. They started framing and focusing and making these men into Molly homemaker type men, right? Because women wanted to be out there, earn some money too. They wanted to be able to, free themselves. They like being in control and shit like that. The problem is, the men that they created, they don't want them. They still want that man that tells them shut the fuck up. They still want that man that says, get your ass over here. They still want that man that's gonna be like, take control type dude. And then now, this Molly homemaker dude that they created, they made, they put out there in this universe, he getting cheated on, fucked over. He got to pay child support and alimony and pay for a whole house that ain't even his because they living in it. His kids is living in it. And some nigga that's dicking her down is living in it. And he ain't got to pay for shit. That's the world that they made. But they don't want to take responsibility for it. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, a lot of things that they didn't want to take responsibility for, but it's to the point where it has to be broken down to an individual basis. And my mom used to tell me that whenever you meet someone, find out, the type of relationship they have with their parents, what are their morals, values, and ethics.
Mm-hmm.
What are their goals? Find out that stuff before you jump into anything else, because if you don't find that stuff out at early stage of the relationship, and you're already intertwined with each other, and then you're like, wait a minute, we're really not a match. because that stuff really does actually matter.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't realize that until later in my life, but that stuff really matters. It matters, if a female has a bad relationship with her mom. That makes that's a huge difference in your relationship.
If she has a relationship with her father, what type of relationship she has with him? Does it color and paint her point of view?
Yep. Education is the difference. Also, is that person's family educated or not? Based on in relation to yours, and there's just so many different determining factors that you could be like, all right, what socioeconomic class do you come from? Generally speaking,
that's a major factor.
Like
that is a major factor. Socioeconomic standpoint.
Yep.
That is a major factor. So
people don't look at that stuff. Just that one thing. Oh, that can be a serious problem in your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It can be all good in the beginning, but at some point in time, that stuff is going to come up. Those things that your differences are going to come up because you come from two different socioeconomic classes, and that shapes the way you see things, how you do things. So that right there can make or break a relationship, or put a lot of strain on it. I've learned that. I've witnessed it. I'm witnessing it to this day.
Mm-hmm. Like if you dealing with a woman who's used to surviving, and you're used to, her family comes from survival situations, and your family comes from thriving situations. She's going to be working off of a mindset of survival. And if you don't fit into that category with her, if you don't see it the same way, it's going to clash because, unless she's the type that, unless she's the type that she's willing to learn from you and stuff like that. She's willing, she looks at you as again, one of those situations where usually it comes from somebody who's an elder or makes more money or something like that, especially with black women. But if she looks at you as somebody who can teach her something, that's when she'll actually take on that situation of, okay, I'll switch from survival to thrive because you know better than me.
But still, there's still the threat of keep going back to survival.
Oh, yeah. They're going to relapse. But then again, my thing is, how do you control their minds? Like, how do you discipline a grown-ass person? You know what I'm saying?
You got to take them out. You got to take them out of that environment that they're used to and put them in a different environment.
Still, they'll bring that environment that they're from to where they are.
They're gonna. Or they'll keep trying to go back to their comfortable environment.
Mm-hmm. I see that constantly with somebody in my family. They'll leave the environment that they're from, complain about it while they're in it, and then the moment that they're out of it, they'll complain about where they are just to go back to it. I see that all the time. That's a crazy one right there. Well, you know what? This went on for like 50 minutes. We're going to wrap this up. I appreciate you coming online with me, CJ. I appreciate
very much
you.
Appreciated.
I appreciate us starting this off. I think this is going to be a new year, and this is one of the things that we need to do for the new year. We need to hear more black voices online. We need to have this black male voice out there, so then we can start teaching each other what to do, where to go, how to do it, so on and so forth. We all go through struggles.
Constant dialect. Absolutely. And where we can learn from each other's issues and problems, so someone else doesn't have to make the mistake that I made or you made. Mm-hmm. They can foresee, this is what he did. I'm going to try that. They witness what things that are coming. Because guess what? Again, I go back to what I said earlier. Everything is in cycles.
Definitely. You don't have to do that. Hov did it for you. So
exactly.
We're gonna break this down. Next episode, we still working on how we gonna go about, what the episodes are that we're gonna bring out, what we're gonna be talking about. Right now, we just getting a feel on what's going on. We're gonna be bringing a lot more to you than just this type of this topic and these points. I gotta say, we're gonna be talking about stock market. We're gonna be talking about housing. We're gonna be talking about geopolitics. It's a lot of stuff that this brother and I can talk about. And we're gonna be bringing more people in. We don't want to be isolated in this situation. We're not the know all be alls and stuff like that. We want to be in this brotherhood. We want to take on this situation of educating ourselves by ourselves, because one of the things that we're missing is men educating men.
Absolutely. We should be doing it collectively together, moving forward, and that's how you build and move forward. It's collectively together and helping each other.
Exactly. So, YouTube, thank y'all for listening. Hit subscribe, like, and whatever else is down there. We'll get this going by any means necessary. Holla.